Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are almost at the end of day one of the Makers Summit 2022, and I hope you gained valuable insight from today's sessions. Just a quick announcement before we start the session. We have just announced our first giveaway for the Makers Summit conference. Check the feed on the right side of your screen for details. You can win an all access pass to the Makers Summit. So now let me introduce an interesting discussion which will be all about design. Design is an essential part of product and marketing, and it can change the way how customers see your product. When a potential customer visits your website, your design will play a major role in influencing their actions. The companies who understand this go out of their way to find the best design talent. But just like other domains, there's only a limited pool of great designers. So, how can you attract the best talent to your startup? And how do you build a design team that is not only in sync with the vision of the product, but also in sync with the leadership team? To answer this, we have two amazing speakers with us: Hardik Pandya, Vice President of Design at Unacademy, and Harish Sivaramakrishnan, Head of Design at CRED. Welcome to the Makers Summit, both of you. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, Pallav. Hi, Hardik.
Hey, Harish. Hey, Pallav. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
All right. So both Hardik and Harish have a lot of insights on how to navigate design leadership in high growth stage startups. So this will be a golden opportunity for all of you to ask them anything about design. Just drop in your questions in the chat and our speakers will take them up. I'm sure you both have a lot to discuss, so I'll hand over this session to you guys.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Pallav. All right. Let's get started. Harish, thanks for joining. We have a lot to talk about, and specifically around design leadership. It's a topic that is very close to me, and I'm sure you have a lot of insights there as well. I would love to go through like a host of topics with you today, and given that you have like a lot of experience, you're probably the most senior design leader that we have in the industry. There's a lot to unpack and dive deeper into from your career, right? Why don't we start with your own history with design leadership? I know that your recent stints have been like very impactful. Some of that I have witnessed very closely, but I don't know much about like your early days in design leadership and what that world looked like, right? Like we're talking about 10, 15 years ago, and how all of this came to be.
First off, man, thank you so much. It's incredible to be here speaking to all of you. And Hardik, it's always fun to chat with you. And we do it often outside of these box, but it's also interesting to come together and speak about some of this stuff that we are passionate about. So thank you so much. Look, I think I am a JavaScript programmer for most of my life, at least early in my career. That's what I did. I wrote code for the browser. And have had some good opportunity working with great designers, though. I think early in my career, I think the most transformative thing that happened to me as a front-end engineer was that my exposure to good design started very early. All the seniors that I worked with, the people that I got mentored by, both from engineering and design spectrums, they were incredible people themselves. They had a passion for the subject. They had the expertise. They had the right state of mind and right intent to mentor a young person like me who just came into the industry trying to learn stuff. So a good deal of my early career spent at Adobe mainly was pretty transformative for me, because I think I met some incredibly talented designers, and these were people who were building some of the most impactful design tools that we all know even today, probably definitive design tools that the design community uses. So I think that opportunity working at that company for almost a decade sort of shaped my ability to understand design from an engineer's vantage, even though I wouldn't really claim myself to be like a hands-on crafty designer at that point in time, at least. And I think I started doing design as part of my tech work completely by accident. I think once I left Adobe, I had a brief stint at Myntra. I think that's where I started managing, so to speak, design side by side with my portfolio as a front-end engineer, and subsequently led me to multiple other companies. I went to FreeCharge, Google, and then most recently at CRED. My journey as a designer come design manager, leader, whichever way you want to put it, has been one of very exponential learning, because the biggest strength I carried with myself was the years of experience I had with designers as a partner, as an ally, as somebody who was bringing their vision to life via code. So more than being a designer myself, I think my experience working with designers and translating some of their work into functional applications, websites, whatever. I think that is the strength I bring together as a design leader even today. I'm a great ally. I think I'm somebody who has phenomenally high respect for design as a function, design as a craft, design as even an area of work. And when you are very respectful about the people and the craft, you naturally tend to be a good ally. And I think for me, leadership is a function of enabling people, allowing people to have their zones of genius shine. Don't stand in the way, and just enable them to become better craftsmen, better creators in my head. So that's what I've learned from design. And with every passing year, like in the years of experience in current world is not that profound. I think you would know that things change every 2 years now. So the number of years you pile in are less impactful as opposed to what you do in immediate short term. So I think I have a great chance to learn from some incredible people that I'm surrounded by, the team that I work with, and also from the community. So my story is that somebody that programmed for design, eventually got a chance to become a designer, or at least be part of the August group that designers are, and then become a strong ally, and by virtue of that, a mentor, if you may, from time to time. So that's largely my story, and I guess that's that.
Right. No, yeah, that's great to know, Harish. I can really see and clearly see like the implication of you having a background in engineering and programming code and having worked with great designers yourself. I think all of that is the summation of like the work that you put out and the team puts out right now. I think three things jumped out from what you said right now, right? Understanding and respecting the craft yourself. I think something that resonates with me very strongly is it's incredibly difficult for a leader to empathize with the team when they themselves do not understand or respect the nuances of like what goes into creation of something impactful, beautiful, detailed, and it just takes the heart and soul out, right? Like you putting yourself out there and completely spending every bit of skill that you have to bring something to life. I think this is something that I have always appreciated in design leaders that I usually speak to, and above all you, right? That you being a great designer and having had like such a career, I'm sure has fed into much of what kind of a leader you are today, right? And it also helps me in my own journey as well, right? Like having designed myself, I understand when things get challenging, what are the frustrating moments, like when things are not clicking, something is not working, you appreciate the craft and you empathize with people that much more.
And also, Hardik, I think in your case, I think what is profound in what I have seen, like we had a brief overlap when we worked together at Google, and then I saw that you went on to take a role in a broader role at Google from the Bay Area standpoint. You also probably had a chance to meet with very diverse kind of designers. Something geographically, now we are very geographically spread because of COVID and work from home and work remote. But probably you moved at a time where, like, moving and changing perspective, and also leading teams in a cross geographical sort of situation. It would have been fascinating. I mean, it's also interesting for people to know what such a transformation really means, because design management is also about managing individuals. It's about managing humans and their aspirations. So it'll be intriguing to know how that played out.
Sure. I have like an interesting story here. So I would be foolish to say that I was ready for this, right? When I started my early conversations with Unacademy, I honestly did not have the situation that I'm in right now in mind at all, right? I was a design lead on Google Search. Before this, a very different world. And when this opportunity came to be, I decided to take a leap of faith, right? And I did want to get into leadership at some point. And just as they say, right, the timing is never right. You kind of take a decision and make it right. I approached the same this thing the same way. One thing one thing that was very interesting for me was building a new team as a design leader who who almost joins the company as like senior designer number one, and then ends up building a team versus inheriting a team that has already been there, right? I have seen very different experiences from the people who end up leading in these two situations, right? In my case, it was the scenario where a team was already in place. They had like a lot of context. They were young, high energy designers, very talented designers who had built the Unacademy products for years before I even came into the team. My position to start off with was of a lot of humility, right? To understand and just assume very low status, just talk to people, understand the work they have done, the challenges they have faced. And what I realized early on was that you have to show that you are able to add value, right? When you want to make a space in a company and a team that already exists, you do want to come from a position of low status, humility, and like gradually start understanding and adding value, and then you have people's ears, right? So that's what my role had been. Initial few months, they were rocky. There were like some interesting conversations. Gradually, I started to empathize with people a lot more, given my understanding of their history and company's history and stuff. And then I ended up in a situation where like I have people's trust. People trust me. I trust them, and there is a very high trust environment overall within the team, and we are able to do a lot more high quality work together. So it has its own learning curve initial months, but I think your experience was different, right? I think you pretty much joined CRED in the very early days and built the team from scratch.
Yes, I have somehow been fortunate to do both. Like you're pretty eloquent in what you said. Like inheriting a team versus having the luxury of so to speak luxury of bootstrapping a team. I think they are very different. So since you covered on the inheriting, but I completely resonate with what you said. I think my experience also is to be acknowledging of all the work that the team that went there before you has done is very important in assuming leadership role. I have oftentimes seen us walking in with a certain framework in our mind because we have done this several times over maybe, or we have strong opinions, or we have sort of maybe have formed empirically established ways of understanding how something is done. But despite all that, I think what's important is you walk in with a sense of appreciation for what went before you, because you were not there when they actually built this product, good or bad. Somebody else went there first. They put their heart and soul out there. Somebody just put a good part of their life, passion, career to build something which you are now taking over. So I think it's very important for design leaders to be very acknowledging of the work done by the people that went there before you. So that's something which I've genuinely learned from my leaders, from my mentors, and something that I, in all humility, try to translate when I'm sort of inheriting a team. But coming to bootstrapping a team, it's often not very well understood, Hardik, in my opinion. A lot of people actually think about that as a genuine luxury that a design leader can have. Oh, you just came and you have a chance to now set up a team the way you like it. It is actually more nuanced than that. Like, when you are inspiring people to come and work, oftentimes you have to bring in a sense of purpose, especially for creative people, because many creative people are driven by a sense of purpose, a sense of a larger thing that they want to achieve, as opposed to just being employed. Like in any circumstance, like many of the good designers are just very eminently employable. I think it's only a question of what they choose, especially in current market. You would know it's not it's not a differentiator at all. So I think for me, bootstrapping a team from ground up is about showing an incoming designer a sense of purpose that he or she can achieve. Like, they need to achieve. The second one is, I would always prefer people who come for the love of the journey, because design is a very while we are all striving for outcomes, for design as a craft, for design as a function, the journey is very important. So if you are not clued into the journey, if you don't necessarily believe that this journey is what will take me to the destination. So there's a famous line that somebody told me back in the day: you can take a roller coaster, you can take a helicopter, you can take a car. What sort of person are you? Like, you can't take a guy who is liking to drive in a highway with some Diet Coke and an open top and ask him to do a roller coaster, he or she may not like doing that. So it's important to identify people who actually believe in the journey and believe in the larger purpose. It's something that I focus deeply on while bootstrapping a team. I have almost always been taught to optimize on good humans as opposed to good talent. Like, good humans who have good talent is the greatest set of people that you can ever have in a team. But great talent, but not a good human being, is going to give you a lot of pain. I have in past experienced not all very talented people are good people. It's just natural rule of human nature. Like, not everybody is a shade of gray. So I have always over optimized for people that are nice. And I have always seen nice people end up creating with passion. Nice people end up covering up for their innate lack of skill and craft by putting extra effort in learning. And nice people collaborate. And for me, design is a very collaborative function. Like, people coming together, the innate power of several people coming together to solve something, to create something, is a lot more powerful than a single genius coming and saying, I have all solutions, I have all the answers, let me do this. So my experience has been to keep it very grounded. Would like people to believe in the journey and believe in the outcome and believe in the larger purpose of design as a journey. So to be very specific, I have a lower preference of people who are attracted by complexity. Like, I personally do not enjoy working with people who take a design job because of the complexity. Nothing against those people, but the moment the complexity is navigated, these are exact people who will actually seek another complexity. It's the difference between doing the lowest, smallest of the most trivialist of tasks because you believe in the journey. People who like complexity don't like trivial things. So it's almost like, I have had situations where a designer said, I won't design banners because I want to solve bigger problems. There are no bigger problems. This is the journey. Yeah. Like, you embark on this journey, you bring coffee, you possibly are solving for the largest domain problem. I do not know. But that attitude is critical. So I generally do not prefer hiring or working with people who are largely optimizing for themselves. See, in my opinion, want to work on something complex alone is a bit selfish. Like, I don't really care about the product, I don't really care about the journey. I just want to solve a complex problem. So, see, that's one of the things that I typically keep in mind when I'm hiring. I have more things around this, but I think we should talk about them as we move forward. But this is a broad framework we have right now.
No, I think thank you for sharing that. I think we do have like one segment just on being creative with design hiring. Definitely like a topic of interest for many. And also, I highly encourage people to drop in their questions as they come so that we can take them at the end. Would love to definitely address as many as we can. But Harish, you mentioned a couple of things. One was having a deep sense of love for what you do, right? I have observed anecdotally, right? Like, if you walk on the floor, right, and you can look at people and you truly can tell who's in it, because they actually genuinely love, no matter what the problem is, the scale of the problem, size, impact, all of those are secondary. But the moment you start qualifying problems, I think you start optimizing, as you said, for things that don't come from a natural place of love, right? Why should a problem be of a certain type for you to be able to solve it well? Why not just solve because you love solving problems, right? And problems come in all shapes and sizes. It's a function of time. Today, you are solving some kind of problems. Tomorrow, the company may be going through a different phase and you're required to do something else. But as long as you enjoy the act of designing, it will keep you going. Outcomes come and go, projects come and go. People come and go, right? Your love for the craft should remain constant, and this is something that is very important to assess and also constantly keep a check on, right? When you, especially I do that in my one-on-ones, right? Like, do you genuinely enjoy the kind of work you do, and what keeps you going, right? And the answer is always telling. The answer is always quite revealing about what is the fuel that people use, and it's different in everyone's case, but I think that energy, the source of that inspiration, has to be almost infinite from within you. You could have off days, you could have days when you don't feel like it. That's okay. We all go through that. But I think every new morning should fill you up with possibilities just because you love what you do, and those become the best hires. I think they are in it for the craft, and they'll go a long way as well. I have noticed them go a long way.
And Hardik, it's also great when you meet people who say that I don't feel it anymore, and respectfully step aside. I have met great designers who have done that. Like, I don't feel for this anymore. This is, and because if I am doing it, I'm doing it at 100%. And the day that I'm not doing it at 100%, I'm not the person to do this. I think it's a great trait in good designers that I have observed through my career.
No, absolutely. And I think connecting as a leader, I think bringing it back to leadership, I think as a design leader, connecting with your team, your people at this level also allows you to keep a very close eye on like what keeps them going, and how you can help them map to the right things or the right kind of work. I think you rightfully said, right? Like as a leader, like everything at the end of the day is your responsibility, single person accountability, right? So absolutely, people in leadership should strive to do whatever it takes, right? But at the same time, I think leaders should also take really good care of people. I think caring for people has been one of the underappreciated leadership skills. I would love to know about you, right? Like how you navigate as a design leader, given how high stress or sort of challenging at times high growth companies can get. Like how do you help keep the team's sanity and your sanity in check?
Sure. I think it's important, man, and thanks for bringing that out. See, for me, the way I look at design when I have an opportunity to structure my team, like, and of course, I've inherited teams in a certain design org structure, and I don't want to go into those details right now because it gets very staggered, but I'll keep it in context with wherever I have had an opportunity or wherever I have been given empowerment to structure design and manage, so to speak, design teams. So I have one principle that I have based my management. It is something that I learned from observing my managers, the managers that I have learned to love. All good managers, in my opinion, Hardik, manage upwards. So my job is to manage upwards, to make the person that's right above me successful. I think it's a very pyramid way of looking at life. Like, if you make the person right above you successful, that person is going to make the person right above successful. And it's a very meritocratic, honest way of solving a problem, because you're not sucking up your person. You're not optimizing for that person's happiness. You're not going to say things that person likes, because you're actually working on something very objective. Is the person who's giving me a set of tasks or a responsibility or a charter successful by virtue of the work that I'm doing? It's a framework that I use. And with that, I encourage my team to manage me, to manage upwards, to make me successful. And that makes me that gets me to a position of privilege, because I don't manage downwards. I am a facilitator, because they are working, they're figuring out their framework, structures, and mode of operation that's best suited for them, with the intent of doing what is chartered to them and make the person next to them who has a larger responsibility, which is me, successful. And that cascades all the way up. So one way that I've always seen is to give infinite empowerment to the people that I work with. So one of the things I tell myself every day morning is the day I am second guessing a person, either I should not be there or that person should not be there. See, I do not believe a good design team can be ever created, and the camaraderie can never be created when people second guess each other. Like, you can have disagreements, like you can completely disagree with a person's idea, a person's finished design. You can't second guess the guy. You can't quite say, oh, I don't think you can do this, so let me step up and do it. So that's only when you have a complementary ability. It's like a designer saying, do it until the X point, I'll take it up from there and I'll finish it up. You don't worry. These are two different things. So to keep my team motivated, I only tell them that it is okay. And I have fairly high risk appetite, Hardik. I like to take a chance than not take it. It has got its upside and downside, but I'm at a place in my career right now where I only see the upside. So I am not a conservative designer. I am actually very liberal in letting designers have their way. because I don't think good creativity. See, it's a very counterintuitive insight, and a lot of people will disagree with me. And that's the beauty of design. People should disagree. And I think the more the disagreements, the better it is. Constraints are all human created. Actually, when you create, there are no constraints. Constraints should not be what should drive your creativity. Your creativity should be driven by no constraints. Constraints come when you're actually actualizing it. That's fact of human life. So I like my designers to create without constraints and then work infinitely harder to remove constraints. The constraints will come, right? I think we all work in companies. We have limited time, limited resources, limited time to market. So we're not kidding here. So we will definitely encounter constraints. But I do not like designers to design in constraints. Somehow, it is an often stupidly glamorized thing. Can you design in constraints? Don't design in constraints. Designing constraints is the most uncreative thing you can ever do. You design without constraints. And then, as a manager, my job is to work, lobby, bully, beg, borrow, pray, steal to make sure that the constraints vanish. You negotiate for time, you negotiate for more bandwidth, you negotiate with engineers to push a little harder. You negotiate with your management to allow the constraints to vanish. So that's my general position. And finally, look, good people attract good people. I think don't insist on hiring everybody yourself. This is something which I have learned. I'll hire people that I could hire, and then I let people that have been hired to hire people. I think if you have that trust network cleanly formed, I think you always will form a very, very coherent, good sort of functional team. And lastly, Hardik, stress is part of a life, and shit happens all the time. And goalposts change, and what we dream for and what we eventually get to do have relation. But I think which job doesn't have that, man? I think all jobs have that, and the objective jobs have that more often than us. So you take that one on the chin and one on the shin for the team, and just keep pushing.
No, yeah, absolutely. Harish, I literally wrote today, right? I think design is a pursuit, and pursuits are painful, right? And like as long as the resilience and love is there, that'll keep you going. Otherwise, it's more a lot of creation, lot of waste work, as people like to call it, right? Than the one that actually sees the day. But I think you rightfully put it, right? I resonate with that a lot, where you say that designers create with a lot of freedom and with a lot of heart, and then as a design leader, you sort of go around and become a good like ideas and concepts merchant for them, as a steward of like their work, and like try and make that successful. I definitely have been in that situation multiple times, and I truly enjoy that, right? And then it some of that exposes some blind spots, some of that exposes some things that we could not consider earlier. It collectively makes the work better, right?
And you're a true evangelist, right? You're a true evangelist, not really the day you become a floor manager, you cease being a good leader. Nothing against floor managers, but I think as design leaders, I think we need to be a lot more than just floor managers. Just floor management may be one of the things that we do because it's a necessary condition to be a leader, but I think it's important to be an evangelist. It looks like there's an interesting thing that came on chat. Maybe cover more about design than managing people. We would certainly speak more about design, but I think it will be far more valuable if there are pointed questions that are coming in. There are a few over there. We'll stack them up. I don't think the flow needs to be broken. I think we will probably consider that, Hardik. I think we can probably get to the design bit of it if people have questions.
Yes. In fact, I saw that and I was about to get to that. So Harish, I would love to know about CRED's approach to design. A ton has been spoken about in favor of and against. I'm sure you've seen it all. I would love to know like what place does it come from, right? Like what the work is definitely opinionated. It's unabashedly honest, right? And that's what I think you and the team, I'm sure, wear it on your sleeves with pride. I would love to know like how you go about it and how you and the team go about it. Are there any principles or any sort of guidelines that you have aligned the team with?
Sure, man. I'll give myself about 7 minutes for this, Hardik, because it's a passionate topic for me. And historically, I have been accused of taking and leeching way too much time on this, because I just do get carried away because it's something that I so innately believe in. So allow me like a 1.5 minute slack. So roughly that is the time I would need to make sense out of this. And please interrupt me if I am probably not hitting it in the middle of the bat as well. So because it's so close to you, you don't know where to start. So to be very honest, I think, look, every product that you build, it's built with some purpose. Like, nobody builds a product without an innate purpose. Like, may it be CRED, may it be an academy, Google, Microsoft, Cisco, Tesla, name any product, they have all built with a certain purpose. And for me, understanding of that purpose and designing for that purpose is very, very important. So that's the first thing that me and my team keep in mind while designing CRED. We are driven by our purpose. And to sound a little edgy, we are not defined by what someone else thinks our purpose is. See, it's very important to call that out, because when you look at something and you think the purpose of this is that, then you are already kind of made up your mind that it is not meeting that purpose. But honestly, it's important to step back and ask anybody who's building a product, what is the innate purpose that you're solving? And you'll be surprised, Hardik, sometimes the purpose may not be the obvious thing that you see as the purpose. So that's the first thing I want to say about CRED's design. So CRED, if you remember, Kunal wrote a manifesto in 2018 when we launched the product. It is a product that is trying to bring together people of a certain cohort, which is like 750 plus credit score with credit cards, and bring them together and provide with them a place where they collectively grow as a community. They are able to do things, and as a principle, the community grows and becomes more powerful and again serves backwards. So it is important to understand when you are building for that purpose, your design solutioning, the way you look at design, etc., will be very, very different. So a lot of people confuse the purpose with the means. For example, the purpose is actually going to a place. The means might be taking an auto rickshaw. The mean might be taking a bus. It might be taking a car. Just because a person is taking a car, auto, or a bike, you don't necessarily think his purpose is actually taking the bike. It's very important to understand. If you suddenly think that the purpose is taking a bike, you will start optimizing for how the bike ride can be made better. The purpose is actually getting to the place. So for CRED, it has never been about building utilities. I don't think our focus has ever been to build utilities. Our focus has been to create a space where people come and collectively become very successful. We are a very high engagement, high retention, aspiration product. Honestly, we are restrictive in our TAM, so we don't go to the entire universe in India to become our members. So we have a limited set of people that come in. So the design philosophy is at CRED is very simple. Serve that cohort of people really well, understand their needs really well, and make sure that their needs are met in the most superior way. And now what happens is you have to take a bold stance in terms of how you go about and do it. So I will take a very simple analogy, Hardik. This will seal it. The analogy will seal it to speak about design philosophy. There are systems that you build which are very governmental in nature. Government in a true sense, Hardik. I say this to every hire that I make at CRED. So governments work on a very simple principle. It's elected by the people. It is expected to serve the people. So a well-functioning government will ensure that everything that the government promises to do is kept, and all the key parameters of what a government is supposed to fulfill for the citizen is kept, and then you get audited. And you get audited every 5 years, 4 years, and if you have done really well, you get re-elected. So basically, if you build many apps in the consumer space are built like that, which places the consumer service at the center of it. Like you serve the customer. There's a very different way of serving. That way, loosely, if I were to mention, is religion. Religion comes about because religion has followers. People come together, people make stuff happen. If you see the most sticky, high retention, high LTV product in the entire universe is religion. It's very hard to leave. And religion is about rituals. Religion is about building things that people do together. Religion is not necessarily about doing things in the most obvious way. I come from Kerala. You have to take your shirt off when you go to Guruvayur temple. Nobody asked you whether that makes sense. No, maybe it doesn't make sense. That's the same logic with Bangalore Club. You have to wear a suit on a summer day or they won't allow you in the bar. So the classic argument of the simplest is what you need to optimize for doesn't make sense for a company like CRED. You understand? We are actually building a place where the rituals have meaning. People need to naturally come together, feel part of being a community, and feel part of doing things at a particular place, irrespective of whether they have choice of doing it elsewhere. I think, Hardik, it's very important to know. We are building a product where we are not fixing for choice. There will always be another product where you can do exactly what you can do on CRED. And irrespective of that, we need to create a product that people use because they want to belong. They want to stick around. They want to come together. They want to serve each other. They want to bring up the respective fellow members together. So the design philosophy is largely driven by that core principle. I think I have 1.5 more minutes to summarize the actual design thinking. So actual design thinking is CRED started as a small offering, right? We did card payments and rewards, and through the years we have become a lot more of a multi-category product that you need to say. I want to take a physical metaphor analogy to say this. You start as a 3,000 square feet store on 100 feet road, which only sells jeans. Then you do really well selling jeans. Now you become a 30,000 square feet multi-story building, which is selling a few more categories. And then you do really well. Then you become this large ass Phoenix Market City, which is like multi-category. So what you need to understand is, I can't use the design ethos from that 3,000 square feet store to build a mall, which is my principle. Design evolves to what you become. And honestly, it is like, and one thing that we constantly believe is, if you do something right, Hardik, the initial inertia doesn't matter. People learn. Humans are curious beings. I think one thing which I've learned about design, which I feel very passionately about, is the biggest issue that design faces today is that you are naturally building for familiarity. It is the biggest curse of creativity. Familiarity is the enemy. You need to optimize for curiosity. Humans have progressed through the history of humanity because we were curious beings. If we were not curious beings, our neocortex doesn't work, and you actually become a dumb person. So if you appeal to a person's curiosity actually leads people to do great things. So I think there's a lot of this indoctrination, if you may, to say that please build familiar patterns. Don't. Every familiar pattern you have today started at some point in time as an unfamiliar pattern. Somebody went there first. Yeah. So one of the things that we very strongly believe is, if we genuinely know what we are doing in long term is going to be better, we would rather have our people go through the pain of inertia, because it is actually good. Like, if you want to build a muscle on your biceps, you have to do the weights. Like, and honestly, if we have strong conviction and the outcome is going to be better, and if the retention is going to be better, engagement is going to be better, we don't really believe that just because we actually pushed out one design that worked and now you are stuck with it. Like, so one of the criticism I constantly get is like, why does things change? Why do things change? And one thing I love, Hardik, to say right now, people actually tell me that you're doing it too often. My last redesign was 2 years and 4 months ago. So I generally like it. If you have so much recency in my design, that means something has worked. Like, the reality is my previous design overhaul was 2.5 years ago. But when I put a new design, you're saying it changed rapidly. It is actually a good thing, because I have kept the engagement continuous. Like, how often do you think about design that way, right? So for me, the design philosophy is to be very pronounced, to be very felt, Hardik. CRED is not attempting to build any invisible UX. CRED is trying to build a very pronounced, profoundly felt, profoundly experienced, very celebratory, very on top of your head user experience. So we want you to remember that you did it on CRED. We would rather have you remember that you did the transaction on CRED rather than forget where you paid it from. Like, so the philosophy is very opposite to a utility platform. Utility platforms typically think the person should quickly come, pay, and leave. Yeah. It should be magic. It should be invisible. For us, the magic isn't staying on CRED. The magic happens when you stick around. The magic happens when you hang out in Phoenix, Hardik. Magic doesn't happen. You just went to Phoenix, bought one socks, and left. Where is the magic? There's no magic. It is called a transactional relationship. If you want to build a retention-based, engagement-based relationship, you have to come and hang out, which is why malls have children's play area. Malls have movie theaters. Malls have food courts. Now, if you took a utilitarian view, Hari, why do you go to a mall? Because you have to buy something. It's pretty stupid, right? If you think about it like that.
Right.
Which is so basically what I'm creating is a space where you come and hang out. If I create a space where you come and hang out, the principles of enter and exit does not exist. I would never do that. Like even in the years to come, I would never optimize for immediate gratification, because such platforms are the earliest to go when either the incentivization goes away or the space in your mind goes away. So summarizing,
Right.
this is the guiding principle behind the design structure of CRED, and whatever you see visually on CRED is a manifestation of this principle. And I will summarize by saying, this is CRED. Is this Harish? No. If tomorrow I go to a company which has got a very different perspective, very different idea to build after, I will build it very differently. Maybe I won't use the same metaphors, I won't use the same principle. But since you asked about CRED, this is what CRED is. And no matter what, we will continue to build like this only. And because
Right.
that's what works for us.
No, I think this was interesting, right? Like it's CRED, but it's not Harish, and that kind of speaks to like how you tackle different problems very differently, right? In a given space for what you want to achieve. I think the design is very intentionally, designed that way, so to speak. I think Harish, do you want to focus on some questions? I think there are 3-4 of them at least that are of interest.
Yeah.
There's one on.
I think there's one small thing, Hardik, I wanted to ask you. Maybe you can just take 5 to 6 minutes to sort of answer that. See, you, I wouldn't call Google search enterprisey, but I would call it as a complex problem because of the available input complexity in solving that problem. So everybody likes problems that kind of give you a canvas to solve. Like I know that you are the search bar to-go guy when you were working at Google. And from there, you have transitioned to a learning tech, edu-tech company where the canvas is very different. What will be interesting for several young designers is also how you context switch. It's a continuation of what I said. Like, so you can't bring your Google search box ethos to Unacademy or vice versa. So what is your template for that? What is your guiding principle for that when you're actually making the switch? Because people even offline ask me this question. You feel so passionately about a problem. Do you get fixated on that, Harish? Because if you go to a next company, will you just carry the same ethos and do the same thing? You can't, right? That's going to fail for sure. So I think yours is a great diverse example, which I'm really hoping people stand to benefit. If you could just.
No, I was just literally yesterday thinking about this, that you yourself are your own best product, right? And as long as you're updating your own frameworks, your own way of thinking, so that it is applicable, or at least you are robust enough to pick up any different space and make something interesting, beautiful, useful out of it, that makes you pretty much formidable. I think in Google search, right, the key challenges were around how do you make human expression as easy and simple and approachable as possible, right? Like literally the box, right? The reason why it was designed was the way it was because the primary interface people have with computers is to type, right? And typing, language, understanding of and proficiency of the language is the best way to express what you want, right? There were interesting discussions around the use of voice, the use of camera, and like what other ways can people sort of transfer that intent of hey, I am seeking something, so that Google can answer, right? There was a very funny sort of an anecdote, right? Like the day Google can read your mind or predict a query before you have expressed it, like it's game over, because then like you literally have the answer in front of you. Why even put you through the misery of having to type a query, right? I think a lot of the building phase in search was around just making sure that everything enabled you as powerfully as possible, right? And augmented your ability to express your query. When I worked on the auto suggest, right, literally we used to jam on different ways to find the little nuances where like, hey, can I like highlight this word a little more, to sort of get your attention, to make sure I sort of preemptively understand that that's the one you wanted to type, right? And we literally said every pixel had a cost there, right? Like every pixel was kind of crammed in such a small space. They're like that managing the attention and dragging it to the right space was incredibly critical in the matter of seconds. Right. So very different things to optimize for. Going by your own framework of like that changes completely. Right. Like I literally would not make any of the choices I today make for an education product that I used to make in search. In education, it's like very, very different. Right. Like here, people trust us with their hard-earned money in order to achieve an outcome. Right. They are coming in with a promise of a better future, better career, and they want to, crack an exam, and they trust us with their money in a hope that we will actually help them prepare better than they themselves would have. Right. I think a lot of noble cause goes into it around making really high quality education accessible, right? So that anybody sitting anywhere, first thing we need to solve for is access, right? Like we have to get out of the way as much as possible until the access part is solved. After that comes the act of making it easy to sort of make sense of what the preparation journey looks like, and what the right content that people should pick up is, and that's where like a lot of the pieces sort of fall into place, right? Like you first solve for like ease of use, ease of access, right? Like let's get you in and build a plan for you, and then this is the sequence you sort of go in. Lot of the design decisions come in from that place, right? Another thing is like managing motivation, right? Education, specifically for certain types of goals, is high stress, high anxiety, a lot of social pressure. So you can't get rid of that context. That is already an embedded context that people are coming with. The most you can do is respect that context and design with that in mind, right? And hence, I think a lot of the UI choices that we have made in the product, a lot of the copywriting, a lot of the way we have structured content is all in that direction of like, can we at least not add to the stress, and in fact actually make it a little more of a relaxed environment where you can feel comfortable that this is your sort of comfort corner where you can come and learn at any time you want, right? And building that kind of a trust with our learners has been like the most challenging and rewarding kind of a task, right? So yeah, I think education, honestly speaking, like we were all students like decade ago, right? Or more than a decade ago now. So it's a lot of context bridging that we continuously need to do, because we are not the users right now, today at least, right? And who the actual users are going through something very different in the age of internet, in the age of mobile phones and learning on the app. None of us have an experience of learning from the app, right? Or a digital product, so to speak.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah, so that's kind of where that's where it boils down to, right? Constantly updating your own assumptions, constantly updating, staying humble, speaking with a lot of users as much as possible, like keeping a very close tap on like what is happening. So I think that's what designing for education looks like, and this is also one of my favorite topics to write about. I keep sharing the things we learn pretty openly, and happy to take more questions on that as well. Yeah. We should probably take the question on design
We have 12
system.
minutes, and we should probably go through some of what. I think there is a question for you, Hardik. I'll read that out to you so that, like, you have spoken about design culture in the past. How is this different from an overall culture of the company? How are they aligned? It's Trisha asking this question.
Yeah. So I think it's about definitely giving designers the space to express, right? And I have been a big proponent of always within the design team having projects that have no outcome in mind, right? Like I just want to do certain projects with my team just because they feel fun, right? And I think that's the kind of culture we have also built, right? Like we some days, and that's I think going back to like how me having been a designer, Harish, you having been a designer before, these things help because some days you just cannot think, cannot design, cannot express, cannot have good ideas, and on those days there is no point in pushing people through the process just because you need an outcome. You can't force good outcomes, right? You have to let them organically manifest, and that I think is the kind of culture I try to build with the team. And I've been fortunate to have some of my design leads extremely conducive and mature and receptive to like new ideas, new thoughts, yet taking it easy when it's needed, right? I think a lot has been written about like the sort of assembly line linification of sort of design, right? And how sometimes that's just not possible, and like you're just pushing through just because you have to, and nobody's proud of those outcomes. So I think it's, as a leader, it's your job to create that space for a space of comfort, space of confidence, space of expression, and isolate when you need to, right? Isolate your team, protect them when you need to, or sort of just give them that bit of luxury of like, hey, if you don't feel like it, like don't commit to a solution or don't commit to an approach, wait it out. You know,
I think that's very important. I think that the last point that you made is so important. Like, completely agree. I am reading Harish on Twitter. Okay, Prashant is asking this to me, so I'll read the question. Harish, on Twitter, you often talk about design as art and product designers needing to understand and appreciate art. Can you provide a real-world example of how this translates into better product designs? Wow, thank you. There's so many.
That covers one of the topics I wanted to ask you. So there we go.
So there's so many different ways that we can answer it. I think, look, the first thing that we need to know that we as human beings, with just only an absolute micro minority of the humankind, everybody else appreciates art. The first thing that we need to start is, without you knowing, you actually appreciate art. Like, that is what makes us human. Like, you ask yourself, you would have always stood and marveled at something. You would have just felt happy seeing something which was an outcome of somebody's creativity. This is what happens when you watch a movie. This is what happens when you listen to Arijit sing a song. This is what happens when you actually see a small little piece of graffiti in downtown Lisbon. This is what happens when you actually see a little child drawing something with her like yet to develop motor skills. What happens is, innately as humans, we are all appreciative of art. It's not just design, engineering, product, architects, back-end engineers, DevOps people. Everybody has an appreciation of art. So I just want to first say that it is nothing spectacular when we say that we need to have an appreciation of art. What I'm saying is we already do. Now, what I mean by appreciating art is that, what is the purpose of art? First of all, a lot of people who don't really have the nuance actually say art doesn't have purpose. Please speak to me. I'm an artist. My art has a lot of purpose. I'm a musician. The music I create has a lot of purpose. So if you actually think art has no purpose, some non-artist gave you that heebie-jeebie. It is a statement told by somebody with scant understanding of art. Like, I mean, it's almost like me speaking about a subject that I don't know of. So anybody who walks to you and say that art has no purpose actually doesn't know any art. So don't listen to the guy. Art has great purpose, and speak to artists and they will tell you what is the purpose of art. Point number one. The point is, when you create something with passion, you realize that it goes way beyond solving a problem. I'll give you a plumber example. There could be a leaking tap in Taj Mahal. And if you have a problem-solving mentality, you will bring a plastic tap. You will put M-seal, and within 10 minutes, the leak will be stopped. You are an idiot. It is Taj Mahal. You need to understand what is the quality of marble. What is that building done with? What sort of tap will work? Which is why you need to have an art state of mind. Somebody created this with so much passion. Even though you're solving a unit problem, like fixing a tap, if you're a great plumber with great appreciation of art, you will clean the floor after you fix the tap. Most of the times, people don't do that because you're only seeing the problem. Don't be that plumber. That is what I'm trying to say. Like, it is not that. Now, a lot of people retort back by saying, is the tap important or the leak important? Like, please don't do that. The leak is important, so is the tap. Now, when did that goddamn thing become a choice? Like, just because this is almost like the standard mentality, if there is no chair, I will put cardboard and sit on it. Don't do that. It's a very Indian thing to do. Like, if there is no chair, make a chair, because people use chairs to sit, which is why, and don't give me the form function argument. It's like really, now it's like very cute. Now it was cute in the beginning, now it's funny. Because you see everything, perceive everything through what is provided to you. Just because there's a really functional spoon, if it is dipped in cow dung, you will not touch it. So form matters. Just because it's a really functional thing which is presented to you really shabbily, it makes no sense. So I think young designers, if they are listening to it, don't have the sense of nemesis that I will optimize for function first. Nobody cares. Function is implicit. Shit has to work. You understand? First thing that you need to tell yourself is things need to work. Focus your energies on how well are you getting it to work. And last thing, sorry, Hardik, I have to say this. Stop quoting Steve Jobs without understanding him. Everybody comes back to me and says that Steve Jobs said it is not how it looks, but it is how it works. Here is a guy who obsessed about corner radius. Here is a guy who obsessed about typography on his word processor. Here is a guy who actually said, if I am building a cabinet, I will put a great piece of wood even at the back, because if I am a good carpenter, I will never put a piece of plywood. So don't use Steve Jobs to actually defend your innate unwillingness to build something beautiful. So for me, art is about creating things beautiful. Art is about providing the first point of touch to the user should be beautiful. And it's very measurable. It is not subjective. It's the only thing that is subjective is how beautiful. And if anybody is telling you the innate purpose of design is solving problems, there is no such thing in human life whose purpose is problem solving. We all do things because it results in one of the many hormones our brain secretes. It could be cortisol, it could be dopamine, it could be serotonin. That is what we live for. We don't live for solving problems. You innately solve them because it does something to you. Creating something beautiful, creating something artsy, creating something crafty, it makes you a better designer. It makes you a better engineer. And I have one promise I have done to myself. I saw Brian Norgard tweet this morning. I made this promise to me in 2014. I will never work with somebody who doesn't have the interest to make things beautiful. I cannot work with you if you don't think things should be beautiful. Functionality is like breathing. Okay, you have to be breathing to be alive. But to be very honest, if you're just breathing, nobody considers you alive. Life is a way more than just breathing. So don't get into the stupidity trap of saying, keep the person alive first. I'm not talking about putting lipstick on a dead body. But if the body is breathing, put a lipstick, it's important. Wear good clothes, it's important. Brush your teeth, it's important. Even without brushing my teeth, I can chew is not a good argument to give. So that is so that is my position about I mean, form is not negotiable. I have been like this for 21 years, and I think I will go to my grave with this perspective. Like, if it is not beautiful, don't do it. So that is my answer to that question. And all the real world examples, Prashad asked a real world example, just go to downtown Spain and see how they have built their buildings. It's a classic example of how utility meets great art. And you can also go to downtown Chicago, where it is absolutely tasteless. Everything looks the same with no personality. So it is both are possible.
There's a beautiful Twitter account I recently found, Architects Against Humanity, and I have fallen in love with.
It's people should follow that. People should absolutely.
It's basically like perfect embodiment of what you just said, right? Like if you just follow them, it's lots and lots of great examples. I think one question Pallav has asked, I think probably like the last one we can accommodate, was around attracting really good designers to your team, right? Harish, I would love to know your thoughts. I'll just add like a couple of things that has worked really well for us, right? And would love to know like your approach to this.
Sure.
I think.
Sorry, go for it, I think you should go first.
Yeah. So I think being unconventional, right, has I think design hiring, a lot has been written about it. Same way as you said, Harish, right? Like how you can basically rethink everything, right? Like there's no way to accept things as they are. When we did our debut program, right, one of the most surprisingly pleasing aspect of that was even the people who did not make it through wrote us long paragraphs about how fun it was, right? Like how much fun it was, how they got to know our team much better. I think there is a lot of innovation you can do by in terms of like putting your team out there, sharing your own work, showing yourself on social media, on public forums, and then you expect to sort of even have a shot at hiring great designers. I think hiring starts before hiring actually starts, right? Like it's about like how you put yourself out there, and after that, how easy you make it for people to reach out to you and show their work directly to you. Given the example of Harish, you hiring that intern who just published a comment under your LinkedIn post, right? Like that's just like as much as great people, as much as talented people want to work at big companies, even good design leaders also are constantly on the lookout to hire talented people, right? So it actually the attraction is both sided. It's just about making the match happen as easily as possible.
Hardik, very well articulated, man. I think it succinctly captures everything that I want to say about this topic. I completely agree. I completely resonate. I think I have a very similar framework and it works all the time. So I think it's fabulous.
Awesome.
Looks like we got extended by 10 minutes. That's what Pallav is saying. And Pallav, where does that take us to? 6:25? I guess so, yes. So yeah, so there are, I think there's a question to both of us about design systems. So design systems, does this add a significant cost and resource burden on smaller product startups? How can one go about this in a lean manner without having the same resources as CRED or Unacademy? I can go first. I have tried to be very frugal in my life when it comes to design team sizes. I think I have been there from CRED ever since we were like this small startup with one small room in WeWork, where like the third person comes in, the second person has to walk out. So we started there, and for what it is worth, we've gotten this far. Very happy, very grateful to that. But one thing which I have personally kept a very important as a very important demarcator is like never grow beyond what is needed. So we at CRED, at least I can say, is super duper lean. I think we are still a very small team. If I have to give you some perspective, product team is about 13 people, 14 people for the entire spectrum of everything that we do, which is 14 people. The larger team is big because we have creative things that we need to do. So my short answer is, when we were small, we did not build a design system because it didn't make sense to build one, because you don't know what your company would become. You don't know what your product would become. You don't even know what your design would become. So we kept it bespoke for the longest of time. I think it is only in the third year of our existence where we decided to consolidate and build something which was even closer to what we could call as a design system. Now in fourth year, we are at the risk of sounding like whatever, we are a bit at scale. Still a long way to go to be like really at scale, but a little bit at scale. So now we just recently launched our fourth generation of design framework, design system, Neopop. That is our first bona fide large design system because it took us 3.5 years to build a design system. My short answer is, if you're small, if you're lean, there are other problems to solve, and design system may not be one of them. This has been my observation. Yeah. But as you get bigger and you're at scale, and when there are larger things which need to be solved, then being bespoke generally slows you down. So that's when you should probably start investing in design systems. This has been my framework because I intend to stay lean as long as it is possible. So this is the model. I think you should add as well.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think Harish, you rightfully said. I think design system is a solution to the problem of scale, right? Both the product, the user base, and your own design team size. Early on, the nature of problems are also kind of unpredictable. You're pivoting every now and then, right? Like you yourself don't know what the product would probably look like in a year's time. It's hard to commit that early to a system, right? And system is a commitment. Right, it's a shared commitment that your entire team kind of puts their head to. I think you kind of you are able to do that when you reach a certain level of stability in your product, right? And then you have like predictability about like what problems you will be solving going forward 6 months, a year down the line. That's when I think it's a matter of efficiency, right? Like you do want to not be solving predictable problems again and again, and hence you kind of templatize or systemize some of the things. And the other aspect to this is if your idea of design system is that it strictly is a design facing function, that's also a little bit flawed and incomplete. It needs to involve engineering from day one, and a design system is incomplete without engineering team also having basically a fully integrated code working on that system as well. Only then it actually meaningfully, achieves the goal that it needs to, right? About making predictable work faster and eliminating commonplace decision making. So yeah, I think that's what my stance is. And we are Harish, we are facing like a similar situation. We only ended up installing like a design system last year, which was the year fifth of the existence of the product. There was some amount of sort of consistency and stuff, but I think properly instating like a system took us our own time.
So, Hardik, I think there are a few questions, but for the sake of time, I don't know. I think this question is nice. I think you should answer this. I mean, how you built your ideas around design over the years? What have you read and who have you followed inspiration, particularly in Indian context? I think, we should quickly touch on that. And I think there's one more interesting question. How do you judge the size of your design team? I think we covered that. I don't think. What
Yeah,
are your frameworks
yeah.
to assess consistency and excellence in design? How can you quantify such a subjective thing? I think we should do both of these quickly, and I think that would
Sure.
take us to the end. Yeah.
I'll go for the learning part, right? Where my own design learning has mostly happened. I think I funny as it may sound, I don't read design books. Not to brag or anything, I just don't. I have my own approach of like learning, which is just being a very observant user, right? I think Harish, as you rightfully said, right, like finding inspiration in buildings, finding inspiration in nature, finding inspiration in like other products that I use. I think those teach me a lot more. Conversations teach me a lot more than picking up books. But again, I think as long as you basically have mastered some kind of a tool, I think just your having the ability to convert your observations into ideas that actually are sort of real in some kind of a tool. I think that's a great place to start. And being open to learning from everywhere else, right? I think there was somebody who had said like beautifully, most design inspiration and learning comes from things that are not even remotely close to design in its most obvious sense, right? They come from literally everywhere else, and that's what my journey has been. Not to say that this can also work for other people, but like personally, like I have never really felt the need to read books. But yes, I think there are some phenomenal books out there. Most are like commonly indexed on the internet. It's easy to find, but just using good product, fixing your inspiration, I think would make you a great designer, right? Where your inspiration comes from is literally what feeds in, feeds out, basically, right? So like it's kind of like building a great loop there is what would set you up for success. Harish, I don't know, like
Yeah, I'll quickly. I mean, great. I think we have similarities there. I haven't read anything. I'm not proud of it, but haven't read anything. I do not think I have the ability to absorb from books. That is the case for me about books in general. I don't like reading, so I have not read a lot, design or otherwise. So that's about books. My biggest inspiration for design comes from, as funny as it might sound, automobiles, from buildings, architecture in general, physical spaces. I think my biggest inspiration to design comes from physical spaces, because I don't think digital spaces are different from physical spaces. If something works in a physical space, it will work in a digital space as well. I think we didn't do that back in the day primarily because the tech did not allow you to do that. With things like metaverse, I think physical digital space convergence is now real. So I think the more you can create things like how you do it in real world, the more effective your design is going to be. I'm a big fan of liberal arts, performing arts. I always look at how performing art, because performing artists have the highest engagement in the world. Performing artists have the highest retention and LTV in the world. You're a Metallica fan, you're a Metallica fan for life. You are, if you are a Dream Theater fan, you're a Dream Theater fan for life. And you're A.R. Rahman fan, you're largely A.R. Rahman fan for your life. So for me, something about performing artists, how they are able to create something which creates insanely high NPS, insanely high retention, insanely high engagement. There must be something that they are doing right there, and it requires immense amount of observation. It requires immense amount of studying how human behavior is manipulated by performing artists, which is why, again, I go back to say, don't look at it too empirically, like problem solution. You actually see, because eventually the software you're building is for humans. If you actually can manipulate, or if you can actually even understand the human, the software is going to take care of itself. So I think I am deeply inspired by performance art as well. We have 1 minute, man. I think you should. I don't think I have much to add on this question. I think you should just quickly, Hardik, just cover this one, which is about how do you assess consistency and excellence in design when it's subjective.
Yeah, I think it's there are proxies, I think, if you really want to measure, but my approach is a little different. I think we over-index on consistency a lot. I think consistency has like very different outcomes in mind, right? Like why you would want to enforce consistency. I think as long as good systems are in place, they can eliminate like decision making that you don't need to spend time on when you could actually be spending time on like whatever thing you're building or if there's a problem you're solving. But point is, I think excellence in design is pretty important. I think excellence is also, as Harish said, right, like can be taken in very different contexts. I think in a case when it needs to invoke a reaction, right, such as CRED's design, right, it does its job pretty well, right? And I consider that excellence in design. Excellence is it's not subjective. It's about if these are the principles I want to uphold, is my design doing justice? Like if I want to make people feel exclusive, if I want to make people feel my product to be memorable, is it doing it? And that's what I if the answer is yes, and that can actually, I mean, I don't even think it's subjective, because principles cannot be subjective, right? The very fact that your principles are clear and easy to follow mean that you have to remove every bit of subjectivity from it until they get to the core of what you actually are trying to achieve. And when you put such principles in place, like I don't think the design excellence at that point would be hard to kind of measure or assess, because the answer most likely needs to be binary at that point. Like if I need this experience to be fast, is it fast or not, is not a subjective answer, right? Like have I eliminated every possible point of friction? Or in your case, right, like have I just kept the right amount of friction for people to wait, pause for a moment, notice, and then move forward, right? I think it's easy to react to things that are objectively defined in the first place. I don't know if that kind of answers the question, but yeah.
No,
so
I guess so, man. I think I just want to add. I mean, I think it's very, very, once again, very eloquently put. I don't think I have a lot more to add. I would just say this much. I think design in general, I think in product world, for instance, digital product world, I think we have somehow taught people to fear subjectivity. I think it's a pity. It is terrible that you have systematically eliminated the biggest human strength. The biggest human strength that sets us apart from animals is intuition and subjectivity. There is no species which has got the power of subjectivity to make choices. I think anybody that is teaching designers to only look at problems subjectively, you are destroying it for the entire fraternity and for the future. Subjectivity is a beautiful thing. Only because there exists subjectivity, there is headroom for innovation. If everything was objective, there is no scope for innovation. You will not do anything more. So I just want to, my humble submission, when I get to meet designers or speak to young designers, I would say, don't despise subjectivity. Bring objectivity where needed, but don't lose your ability to be subjective. So that's all. I think we are grossly over time right now. Pallav, I guess we are done.
Yes, you guys are right on time. And I don't even need to mention how amazing the session was. Everyone was glued in, and like the chat was going crazy. I think everyone can see how passionate you both are about your craft, which is always inspiring. And as much as I'd love for you to turn this into a 3-hour Joe Rogan type podcast, like we'll have to stop here as we have reached the end of the session. So thank you for sharing those valuable insights, Hardik and Harish. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you, Pallav. Thank you, Hardik.
Thanks a lot, Harish. Yeah. This was fun.
Are you driving this way?
Yeah. No, but thanks a lot, Pallav, for facilitating this. I think I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure I hope people found a lot of value in the thoughts that we shared.
Yeah.
And thank you for everyone who stayed on and listened to us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. There were a lot of people. So thank you very much. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.